Don't adjust your sets out there, people, because yes, I am not in my normal space for doing movie reviews. That's right. I'm actually in the World of Football man cave because this week we're going to do the top 10 football films of all time, according to me and my co host for this week, my father, who runs theworldoffootball.com and his YouTube channel, The World of Football, Kalamazoo. You guys can go check them out. Links all in that junk in the description to find them. We figured the Super Bowl is coming up. We figured why not put together a great fun list of the top 10 football films of all time. And we had some very different lists, but welcome to my channel.
Hi.
Yeah, wow. It's like he's never been on YouTube before.
I'm not used to being on this YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know it's weird. I don't have my black curtain behind me. Usually I'm doing this solo, but this is the first time, we're kind of doing this together. So we're going to both give our top 10 lists. We're going to each kind of go from 10 to 1 and give our list. And yeah, so are you good?
I'm good.
My number 10, and we'll just do your number 10.
Okay.
I guess we'll just keep going for there. My number 10.
Yes.
Paper Lion.
What?
I
Number 10?
At number 10. Now, look, big Detroit Lions fan. Clearly, I'm representing the Lions. It's the only movie out there that features the Detroit Lions in a very big prominent role, other than Mr. Mom.
Yeah, that too.
So I've had to put this on the list. Look, it's an okay movie, but man, when it gets to that end of that movie, probably the third act, when you actually get to the big game, which is actually a preseason game, and you get to see all that NFL films footage, and just the whole vibe of the movie kind of changes. That's the only reason it kind of really got bumped into my list. Otherwise, it would probably be a so-so movie, and it's only near and dear to our hearts just because we're Lions fans, but also Alan Alda. Come on, who doesn't love Alan Alda?
This movie was never released on any sort of media.
Oh, you have to
DVD.
You have to buy it on Amazon.
You rent it on Amazon or something like that. That's where we saw it. But it's been on TV a few times. I should have recorded it when I found it.
Put it on physical media. I want it on Blu-ray.
Never been on VHS or DVD or anything like that. So,
all right, your number 10.
All right, my number 10 is The Express, the 2008 movie. The story of the 1961 Heisman Trophy winner Ernie Davis, played by Rob Brown. Chadwick Boseman actually is in this movie also. He played Floyd Little in this movie. And Dennis Quaid plays the Syracuse head coach. And this is also based on a true story. That's what I like about the movies is when they're based on a true story. It really means something to me because you may like the movie, but you can always go find out more about the actual people that the movie is based on. And I love those kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about The Express a little later. But
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Number 9, I have Leatherheads, 2008 movie starring George Clooney, John Krasinski, and Renee Zellweger. Now, if you're not familiar with the story of Red Grange and C.C. Pyle, his agent, there's some undertones of that in the movie Leatherheads, where John Krasinski's character has an agent,
right.
and the agent is kind of shady. C.C. Pyle was sort of the Colonel Tom Parker to Elvis back in those days.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a little undertone of that if you're familiar with that story. But Leatherheads I like because it shows you how the game was played back in the Leatherhead days, back in the 1920s. They changed some of the team names, whatever, but yeah, this you could really see that these sort of things actually happened. That happened in the movie Leatherheads.
Didn't make my list, but I mean, I think it's a fun movie. Maybe a little too silly for my that's weird to say because I got some silly movies coming up. But for me, I like that era, and I think the fact that they didn't get the rights or didn't feel like they needed to actually do the real story of those guys that they were kind of emulating.
Yeah,
I was kind of like, oh, I mean, this isn't terrible, but I mean, I would personally probably prefer a true story based around that. Not that I love John Krasinski, I love George Clooney, so I mean, I don't hate this movie, but it just didn't make my list.
Okay.
Which my number 9 now we're gonna jump to is We Are Marshall, another true story. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan, and I came to this late with him because for a while there, Matthew McConaughey was kind of doing those kind of cheesy rom-coms, so I never really gave him much attention. And this movie came out kind of in that era of things. And now looking back on it, and now after I've really become a big fan of his the last 5-10 years, I go back. I love this movie. I think this is great. Nice small movie about this little school that has this big tragedy, and it's building a program back up from the ashes. Just think it's a great little movie, and I don't know how many people have seen it, but I don't know. I really dig this movie.
I've seen the movie. I do like it, but it was not in my top 10 list at
Wow.
all.
Okay.
It should have been. And I thought about it at the last minute, but I'm like, man, I don't know where I could wedge it in.
Yeah.
There's still so many great movies out there. It was tough to come up with a top 10 list.
Number 7, I got Jerry Maguire.
We're doing number 8.
Oh, I am just bad at numbers. That is number 8. Yep, you're right. My number 8 film is Jerry Maguire. I guess people, I don't know, this is a weird debate because I think some people don't consider this a, quote, football movie, but it's a sports agent and a lot of it revolves around football, so I count it as a football movie. Look, all the great Rod Tidwell stuff, the great famous bits about show me the money. Being in that locker room, what's the other famous line where it's, help me help you.
Help me help
all
you.
That great stuff. Classic, great lines. I think Tom Cruise is great in this. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. is phenomenal in this. It's a lot of fun and a fun little look at the sports world. And gotta throw in that there's some Detroit Lions cameos in this.
Yep.
So,
Herman Moore and
Herman
Wayne
Moore
Fonz.
was in it. Wayne Fonz, and I think Johnny Morton makes a quick little appearance to a former Detroit Lion.
But this is a movie that did get the rights to all the NFL logos because they're everywhere.
So I think that helps kind of immerse you in that world too, and makes it feel real. And especially with all some of these big personalities, which we still see today. Like Rod Tidwell is pretty much every diva wide receiver still around the league today. And there's some real life Jerry Maguire out there trying to wrangle these, insane people in. And I don't know. And then you get to the heart of the story where it's about the agent himself. And, Renee Zellweger also in this one. Mm-hmm. And I love her. She's cute in this movie. I had a crush on her as a little kid watching this movie. And, I just think this is just a good story just in general, not just a football movie. It's a good movie too.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It did not make my list.
Okay,
but yeah,
a little surprised. But
always enjoyed it. The fact that Rod Tidwell played for the Arizona Cardinals. It is a good movie. A lot of good one-liners from it, and movie you can watch over and over again. All right, my number 8 is a movie that just came out in 2021 called 12 Mighty Orphans. Now, I had read the book. This is based on a book that came out in 2008. I read the book, thought the book was phenomenal. The movie hits a lot of the highlights. The book followed the orphanage where the students came from over the course of maybe 10 years or so. Mm. But they crammed all that 10 years into one season in the movie. But it's all there.
Yeah.
It was a really good movie. Starring Luke Wilson, Robert Duvall, Wayne Knight was in this movie.
Good cast. Yes. Even some of the younger guys who played the players didn't make my list. We saw this. It came out last year. So
yeah.
I enjoyed it. I never read the book, but just from storytelling, I thought it did feel a little crammed, especially after you were telling me some of the stuff that happened. I felt that maybe rushed here and there, but a solid little football movie that I don't think enough people talk about. And I think give it some recognition. Go check it out.
Yeah. Again, this was based on a true story also. So. You can either check out the movie or read the book. I suggest doing both.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Knute Rockne, All-American from 1940. Again, based on a true story. Legendary coach Knute Rockne, played by Pat O'Brien. Ronald Reagan makes his famous movie debut, or not debut, but portrayal of George Gipp in this movie. And, the old win one for the Gipper episode. So yeah, and at the end of the movie, you can also see real life coaches Pop Warner and Amos Alonzo Stagg at the end of the movie. This was just a great movie, just like Jim Thorpe All American, Knute Rockne All American, old black and white movie from the 40s. Excellent the way it was filmed, the football scenes and everything. Really like this movie.
All right, my number 7, hopefully I got my numbers straight this time.
You're right, you're good. I'm keeping track.
Is Invincible, the film starring Mark Wahlberg. And, I just remember seeing this, they got the rights to use the Eagles, to use all that stuff. And I like that underdog story of the guy literally coming from bartender to trying out for the Eagles and making the team. And, I mean, when you get stories like that are based on the true story, you're like, really? A dude just was bartending and then he just becomes a football player? Like, that's got to be made up, right? So I don't know. I remember loving this movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I've always kind of held that up there as I love one of the best football movies I've seen. Just that underdog aspect to it, which makes for a lot of these great football movies. Is usually the David versus Goliath kind of stories. So, that's my number 7. Okay. And then at my number 6, I have The Express there. I thought The Express was great. I remember seeing this way back when this came out, what, like 2008, 2009?
This came out in 2008, yes.
Yeah, that was one of the best years for just movies in general, in my opinion. A lot of great stuff came out that year, and The Express was a good little hidden gem kind of that year. Not a lot of people talked about it. Kind of went under the radar for a little bit. But looking back on this movie, all the heartbreaking stuff that happens, in his, with his diagnosis and all that stuff, as that kind of creeps in, and there's how he was right there on the cusp of getting to the NFL and just having everything just kind of fall apart there. It's heartbreaking, and I mean it's an incredible movie regardless, and all the stuff. I think they captured the time period really well. The acting in it is stellar. Check that one out. So it made both of our lists at least.
At my number 6, The Waterboy.
Ooh,
from 1998.
It's kind of low.
Adam Sandler as Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
Jerry Reed was in this movie, who starred with Sally Field in Smokey and the Bandit. And Henry Winkler, the Fonz, was in this movie also. Great characters, funny movie, funny football.
They nailed the
football field. Was hysterical.
I'll talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, The Waterboy is great. I got a little higher on my list, so I'll talk about it a little more later on.
My number 5 is American Underdog. This movie also came out in 2021. This is the story of Kurt Warner, the NFL Super Bowl and now Hall of Fame quarterback. Again, based on a true story, starring Zachary Levi, Anna Paquin, and Dennis Quaid as Dick Vermeil. We basically went to see this for the arena football footage, and they did a great job with the arena football footage, I thought, when he played for the Iowa Barnstormers. And you don't see arena football on the big screen much, and we were really excited to
try
see
it all.
And so yeah, this was a great movie. It's based on his book, All Things Possible, I think is the name of the book that he wrote. Kurt Warner did. So yeah, that's what I've got at number 5 on my list.
Okay, at my number 5, here's where everybody's gonna start sending in the angry comments. At number 5, I have Rudy. I know a lot of people consider this to be the greatest football movie ever made. I literally rewatched this the other day just to figure out where I was going to put it on my list. And I hate to tell everybody, it's not as great as you all say it is. I think it is a good movie. It's obviously number 5 on my list. There's a lot of stuff I have issues with. Rudy is a whiny son of a gun for most of this movie. Come at me, comments. It's fine. Whiny son of a gun for most of this movie, but I will give it to you. By the end of that movie, though, when you were just endeared enough to this kid, like, I got to give it to him. He's got heart. He's got all that stuff. The scene with the jerseys on the coach's desk. The scene in the stadium when everybody starts cheering his name. When he actually, in real life also, goes out there and gets a sack. And it gives me chills thinking about it. So while I might think that, he was just kind of this whiny little kid, like, throughout the most of the movie, like, I just want to play for Notre Dame. I just want to go for I swear to God, if you take a drink every time Notre Dame comes out of this guy's mouth, you're going to die of alcohol poisoning. But I get it. I mean, I get it to an extent why people would put this as the number 1. It just didn't sucker me in as much as some people, but it's number 5.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't yell at me yet for that.
I'll yell at you later when I get around to.
All right. So now my number 4 is your number 5, which is American Underdog. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. I was a little nervous going in because they were touting it as like one of those Christian, not that there's anything wrong with that. I thought it was going to be really leaning into the religious aspect of it, which it doesn't. Thank goodness. They do lean into the football and family and faith stuff. So they do a good balance, I think, of everything. But the arena football stuff kills in this movie. If you've never seen arena football in real life, this movie captures a lot of it really well on screen, in my opinion. And hopefully with the Arena Football League coming back, people will go check out real arena football when it comes back around. But, I love Zachary Levi. Zachary Levi, who plays Shazam, he's, Kurt Warner in this. Anna Paquin's great. All the football in this film is pretty good. My only criticisms really are some of the CGI kind of fake stadiums, like being at the St. Louis Stadium and some of those games. Maybe some uniform inconsistencies, I believe. But other than that, and shirt inconsistencies. There was some logo stuff I noticed. That's right. I'm watching you design teams out there. Can't get anything by me when it comes to football movie accuracy sometimes. So that's my number 5. What did I say that was? Number 4.
Okay. At my number 4, I have a movie called The Freshman. This is a 1925 silent movie starring Harold Lloyd, the great silent star comedian. He plays a kid that's
a freshman.
he goes to college, and as a freshman, he figures the best way to become popular, because he's not popular. He's a nerd.
He's anything
He's an
but.
outcast. Yes, he's a shy guy, and he wants to become popular. So the best way to do that is to be on the football team. And there is so much great football footage in this old silent movie of Harold Lloyd. They basically stand him in a sand pit and use him as a tackle dummy.
Mm.
This is not CGI. This is big football players actually tackling him getting up and getting tackled by another
He
guy.
did all his own stunts.
He does all his own stunts. There was no
Yeah.
CGI back then. If what you saw was real,
Yeah.
and in the end, of course, he helps him in the big game. Even though he barely gets into the game, he's there at the end. So for 1925, this was awesome. I love Harold Lloyd. Love a lot of the stuff he's done, and this was a good football movie. A Freshman from 1925 with Harold Lloyd.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't make your list.
Nope, definitely not on my list. But I think I own the Criterion of this film.
I've got it on DVD.
No, you have it on DVD.
You got me a collection of Harold Lloyd.
Okay,
stuff.
I might own this on
And that was one of
Criterion. I
them.
can't remember. I got it somewhere stashed. So
My number 3, you're going to hate me for this, but Little Giants
Oof.
is number 3. 1994 movie starring Rick Moranis and Ed O'Neill, with real-life football players and coaches John Madden, Bruce Smith, Emmett Smith, and Tim Brown make a guest appearance where their bus breaks down while the kids are practicing. This is just a great family movie. Loved this movie when it first came out in 1994. You've always loved this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Little Giants is a great movie, and it still holds up to this day.
So my number 3 is The Waterboy. I think, yeah, really high. I was a little surprised I got it this high on the list, but it's funny. Adam Sandler, Henry Winkler, sorry.
Winkler.
Everybody in this film is on their game.
Yeah.
And Rob Schneider with his meme of oh no, we suck again. Like, come on. Like, you can't beat it. It's funny.
Kathy Bates is his
Kathy
mother.
Bates
I
as
forgot
his
that.
mom.
She's awesome.
She's hilarious. Everything about this, and all the football stuff is great and funny. And when you can make football a comedy and make it good, it just transcends so much, because it's a ludicrously just violent sport, and you just throw a little bit of humor in there with like some of those just absurd tackles, which you can't do nowadays in the NFL. But seeing some of that, like him just jumping over the line, making that grunt noise he does when he tackles dudes, it's hilarious. It's great.
A lot of actual football announcers.
Oh yeah.
In this movie. Well, wasn't Terry Bradshaw in the stands?
He might have been. Jimmy Johnson and Bill Cowher were.
Yes,
definitely
they were in the stands. Lynn Swann was on the sidelines talking to his girlfriend.
Yep, she was great too.
And there were other
probably Brett Musburger. Was he one of the announcers? Maybe
he might have been.
I could be wrong.
Yes,
but yeah, so that's pretty great. And then my number 2, I even disappointed myself. Number 2 is The Little Giants or Little Giants. I rented this movie so much as a kid. We'd go to the video store. What would I get? I'd get Little Giants every time. Maybe whatever brand new kind of movie was just out on rental, and Little Giants. It was like clockwork. We go out to the video store, that VHS was coming back to me. We never owned it for some reason growing up. I rented it so much, I'm surprised it was never bought.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for it to be released on Blu-ray somewhere. You have it on DVD.
I have it on DVD.
I love this movie to death. It's great. The annexation of Puerto Rico. Icebox. The fact that Al Bundy plays the opposing coach. Yeah. And it took me a while to understand that he wasn't Al Bundy in this movie. But Ed O'Neill is great. Former football player. Rick Moranis is great.
Yep.
Every kid has got their own little bit, and they're all hilarious. I mean, it's tough to be a kid actor and be funny and at the same time, I think. And all these kids nail it. All the little football scenes are great, and it's the greatest comeback in sports history. They were down 21-0 at halftime, and they came back to win the game.
Spoilers.
I mean, come on now. Who hasn't seen The Little Giants? If you haven't, go check it out. And by the way, it's a better comeback than Super Bowl 51 when the Patriots came back against the Falcons. Don't at me. I said it. All right. What do you got?
My number 2 is Paper Lion.
Wow,
as a Lions
that high,
fan,
huh?
As a Lions fan, you should.
You're not
know,
a homer at all. You're not drinking the blue Kool-Aid at all.
Alan Alda, Lauren Hutton, a special guest appearance by Vince Lombardi, who tells him to go try go try Detroit or something like that. I think that was the line. But again, another movie based on a true story. I want this in my collection so bad, but until somebody puts it out on Blu-ray or DVD or something, yeah, I don't own it. So I'm upset about that. But yeah, so many actual Detroit Lions players from the '60s. Alex Karras was in this movie. Mike Lucci, just whoever was on the team. Lem Barney was in this movie. So yeah, just if you're a Lions fan, this is right up there as one of the top movies ever. And I'm astounded you didn't put this higher than where you've got it.
All right, so we've come to the moment where it's our number one films, and I've already kind of figured out what your number one probably is, and I'm going to tell you right now, you left a big one off your list.
Okay, well, what's your
Okay,
number
so
one?
I just jumped to my number one.
Go ahead.
My number one's Remember the Titans.
Mm.
It is, without a doubt, the single greatest football movie of all time. Denzel Washington alone, you know, I won't say he alone carries this movie, but his performance in this is great. It's heartwarming. There's, dealing with so many different things between, integration or segregation. These two schools kind of becoming one school. Black players and white players, getting along and having to form this team, and how that kind of raises this city up, and dealing with all that. And the football scenes are great. Was it Donald Faison's in this too from Scrubs? Petey, hold on to the ball, Petey. I'm shocked. I'm utterly shocked and disappointed you don't even have this on your list.
No, it's
Didn't
not.
even get
It's not a bad movie.
In your honorable mentions.
It's not a bad movie, but
upset.
it just was not on my.
I am
list.
upset that this is not even mentioned in your list.
Well, this is a generational thing. I've been around a lot longer. A lot of these movies I saw when they first came out.
When the greatest movie of all football all time comes by, and you don't even have it on your list, I'm a little shocked and disappointed.
You are wrong, because I do have the greatest football movie of all time on my list at
What
number
is
one,
it?
and that is Rudy.
It is.
Rudy is my number one movie of all time. There have been only two movies that I've ever cried at. One was Brian's song. Every man of a certain age will cry at the end of Brian's song.
And that didn't even make your honorable
It
mention.
didn't make my list.
Wow,
no.
This guy.
But Rudy is the other one. When he got that sack, I lost it. I really did, because I didn't know the story of Rudy until this movie came out. So, yeah, 1993, Sean Astin, based on a true story. Jon Favreau was in this movie.
Vince Vaughn was in this movie.
His friend, and Ned Beatty played Rudy's father.
Yeah,
in the movie.
Vince Vaughn was one of the football players that kept giving him flack. And yeah, I didn't realize that. I was watching this. I was like, "That's Jon Favreau." I was like, "Wait, that's Vince Vaughn."
Yeah, well, 1993 is a long time ago. These people weren't really stars back then. They were working their way up.
Yep.
And, but yeah, that's my number one.
I figured you'd put Rudy at number one. But yeah, so I guess to recap my list, if my phone would open up, my number 10 film was Paper Lion. Number 9, We Are Marshall. Number 8, Jerry Maguire. 7, Invincible. Number 6, The Express. Number 5, Rudy. Number 4, American Underdog. Number 3, The Waterboy. Number 2, Little Giants. And number 1, Remember the Titans.
And for my top 10, it was The Express at number 10. Leatherheads at number 9, 12 Mighty Orphans at number 8, Knute Rockne All-American at number 7, The Waterboy at number 6, American Underdog at number 5, The Freshman at number 4, Little Giants at number 3, Paper Lion at number 2, and Rudy at number 1.
Man, this has been a long video. Hopefully you guys stuck around to the end here.
So many great movies out there. It was really tough to narrow it down.
Yeah,
the ones I didn't have on my list, you didn't have some on your list, but they're out there. And what's your top 10?
Right, yeah, what's your top 10 list? Leave those down in the comments below. We'd love to know what you guys thought. Because I think the purpose of a top 10 list isn't for people to go, I don't agree with your list. It's to go, okay, I haven't seen these many movies on your list. Let me go check them out and see if they would make my list. I think that's the point of a top 10 list. We can argue all day about whose list is better than the others, but I love seeing people's top 10 lists, because I'll see a movie and go, really? You thought very highly of this movie. Now I got to go check it out and see if I feel the same way. That's what I love. And you'll discover The Freshman, or discover Knute Rockne All-American, stuff you've probably never even heard of. So, guys, thank you for coming to my channel and checking it out. Also, be sure to go over to the World of Football Kalamazoo. Again, the link is down in the description below. Go over there. Follow what we're doing over there. I'm over there all the time because I do half the work over there. Well, most of the work over on that channel, as well as this channel. So, but yeah, go over there. Good stuff we do over there at the World of Football. I want to appreciate you.
But you don't.
But I don't. I appreciate you coming onto my channel and us, kind of collaborating on this. It's been fun.
Thank you.
I love talking movies.
I love talking football.
All right. And until next time, guys. I'll be seeing you.